Well, hello and welcome to Producer Dan. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel today. Today I'm talking about Boom, a virtual drum machine by Air Music Technologies. It was included in Pro Tools back in 2008 as part of the Creative collection of plugins. And I've done videos on all of those plugins, so check them out. So Boom Virtual Drum Machine was modeled after some very legendary Roland drum machines of the past, like the CR78, the TR808, the TR606, and the TR909. It is a virtual instrument, so you'll need to open up an instrument track in your DAW, and I've done that in Pro Tools. So the first thing that came to my mind when I started researching this plugin, because I don't use it, I use Easy Drummer. Easy Drummer fits into my genre a little better than this. But the first thing that came to my mind was how Pro Tools sets you up with all of these excellent virtual instruments right from the start. And you really don't have any need to go purchase other plugins. Boom is an excellent drum machine. The Mini Grand is an excellent piano plugin. Expand 2 gives you all of your strings and exotic instruments and some synth sounds. The Vacuum is a very good monophonic synthesizer where you can get some very good bass and lead sounds. And there's also the sampler, the structure-free sampler. So it's part of this really good bunch of plugins that set you off with everything you would need to start creating excellent professional music. All right, so let's take a look at some of the presets. The first thing you notice is they're separated into different tempo ranges. For example, all of these were created with tempos between 68 and 85. That doesn't mean you have to play them at that tempo, but that's how they were created. So I'm going to set my tempo now to 120. And let's listen to some in that range. 411. This one's called 8-0. Very 80s, for sure. Hand in the Box. Okay, let's go a little faster here. Let's pick something between, the 121 and the 140 range. How about Good Old Times, and that's at 140, and I'm going to set my tempo to 140 now. That's fun. You can see how these presets could inspire you to create a song, and it will take you to maybe a different genre. Finger Lickin'. I love that one. Ghost Bell. Now let's take a look at the matrix and the sequencer. So as you can see, all of the drums are listed on the left, and they correspond to their own little row in the matrix. You can add hits by clicking on the dot, and there are 3 different velocity settings. So that first click is going to give me the highest velocity. If I click it twice, it's going to give me the medium velocity, and it's shown in its brightness there. It dims just a little bit. If we click it a third time, that's the quietest velocity. And if I click it again, it deletes the note. And as you can see, there are 16 spots across the matrix and 16 spots down here in the sequencer. So the same way you can add notes by clicking in the matrix, you can also add notes by clicking the spots down in the sequencer. You just need to choose the drum you want to edit by clicking here, and it shows you which spots that kick drum already occupies. So you can add more by clicking here. And you notice that first click has given us the brightest light. So that means it's the highest velocity. If I click it again, that's the medium velocity. If I click it again, that is the least velocity. So I'll add another kick drum here at 3, at 7, 11, and 15. And I'm choosing the least velocity. Let's give that a listen. Okay, let's go back to the matrix and take a look at these buttons here. You have a swing button. That'll add a little swing to how these notes are played. You have a volume and dynamics. Now the dynamics will either lessen the dynamics or increase them. Right now it's set in the middle. If I turn it to the right, it gives us the most dynamics between the most quiet and the most loud velocities. If I turn it to the left, there is no difference in velocity. All the notes are played the same. Now Boom comes with 10 different drum kits, and you choose the drum kit here. Urban 1, Urban 2, Dance 1, Dance 2, Electro, 808, 909, Fat 8, Fat 9, and Retro. So since there are 10 different drum kits, you can mix and match those different drum sounds in the sequencer. And they're all listed for you here. So if I wanted to change this kick drum sound, let's put it on the 808. Now all my kick drums have changed to the 808. Urban 2. The 909. Dance 2. And you can do that with all of the drums across the bottom here. Now let's take a look at these channel strips, because these are very useful. Each of these drum sounds can be panned left or right. You can change the level of the drum sound here. You can tune each drum sound. For example, let's tune the kick drum. Also, the decay can be changed. And the best part is all of these parameters can be automated in your DAW, and I'll show you how to do that at the end. Now these channel strips act just like a channel strip on your DAW. There's mute, solo. Also, there's a little screw here, and each one of these screws will kind of adjust a parameter on the drum sound, depending on which drum sound it is. Generally, it's adding, maybe adding some snap or some EQ adjustments. Let's try it on the kick. Yeah, it's definitely taking some snap away and adding some snap. Okay, now let's go down here to the transport section. This is very self-explanatory. Start and stop. We have a speed section here where you can double the speed. Okay, that's 2 times the speed. Regular speed and half speed. There's also a spot here to add a triplet. Alright, so now let's take a look at the edit mode. There's a pattern selector and the pattern editor. And so each preset will have 16 different patterns, and each pattern is a variation on the next. That's pattern 1, pattern 2, 3, 4, so each one of these patterns can be triggered in your DAW to play along with your song, or also can be triggered by your keyboard, starting at C3. C3 will trigger pattern 1, C sharp will trigger pattern 2, and so on and so forth up the scale. Okay, so those are the preset patterns. Now I'm going to show you how to make your own patterns, and I'll also show you how to play them in your DAW along with a song. First of all, I'm going to go to a preset that I made earlier. This is called Dan's Demo. I'm going to clear all my patterns and start from 0. I'm going to set my tempo at 120. So the first thing we're going to do is add the kick drum, and that'll be at 1, 5, 9, and 13, and we can make changes to that later if we decide to. Alright, so now that I've added my kick drum, I'm going to save this as my first pattern. I'm going to copy this and move to my second pattern. Alright, so now that we're in pattern 2, here are my kick drums. I'm going to add my snare in this pattern, pattern 2. So we're going to edit this pattern. And here's the snare. I want the snare to hit on 5 and 13. So I'm going to copy this, go to pattern 3, and it brought everything over to pattern 3. Now we're going to edit this pattern, and here are the claps. So I'm going to add some claps along with the snare, but I make these claps just a little quieter. So 5, but I'm going to make them their least velocity. So I'm going to click 3 times there, and on 13, 3 times there. Let's listen to this. Very good. Let's copy this and move along to our next pattern. I'm going to go to pattern 4. Let's add some closed hi-hat. All right, so let's add some open hi-hat, but I want to do it in the next pattern. So let's copy this pattern and move on to pattern 5. Here's the open hi-hat. I want to add them just before that hit and just before this hit. Let's see what that sounds like. Now, my next pattern I want to be kind of like a fill. So let's go to pattern select and number 6, and see this is blank. So I'm just going to have this rim shot hit all the way across. Maybe halfway across, and then the snare the other halfway. In my next pattern, I want to be complete silence because every now and then you want your drums to drop out and let the music play. So that'll be an opportunity. Pattern 7 will be completely blank. And so I think that's enough to do our song. So we have patterns 1 through 7, and I'll play them all for you now. Starting with C3. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to play boom to accompany your song. So the first thing you want to do is turn this into notes. Now that we've done that, we know that C3 will trigger that first selection. All right, so we want to put a note on C3, and here's C3. We want to make sure that the grid here at the top is set to a 1 bar value because we want that MIDI note to be 1 bar long in this example. And if I come to C3, we've added a note there, okay? And I want that to maybe go 2 bars. And then slowly add in those sections as we go along. So we'll add something here. We'll play pattern 2 for 2 bars. Pattern 3 for 2 bars. And then I think our fill was pattern 6, no? Yes. So we'll play our fill, that's pattern 6. And we'll put our silence section here. All right, so here we are with the song I just put together using boom and vacuum and expand. I'll play the song now, and this is just to demonstrate how the patterns can be programmed by using the notes C3 and upward on your piano roll or in your DAW or on your MIDI keyboard. Okay, so I'll play a little song now, and then I'll get into automating some of the parameters on boom. Okay, so I thought it'd be fun to automate the snare at the end or in the middle where it does that da 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 da. I thought it'd be kind of cool to automate the kind of EQ on that or the decay. So the first thing we have to do is come up to the auto part, and if you hover over that, it says plug-in automation enable. So I want to do the snare decay, and I'm going to add that to the automation list, and I press OK. And then when I come over to the automation window in Boom, I'll come down to the bottom here, and since I've put it on the list, there's our snare decay. So now that we've chosen the snare decay automation, I have to put the track automation in touch mode. So now everything I do to this decay button in real time will be recorded in the automation timeline. Okay, maybe not the best example, but now you see the automation is recorded. It'll play that back. And you watch the knob kind of turn. Okay, so that is Boom. Thank you very much for watching the video, stopping by the channel. I hope this was helpful to you. If you have Pro Tools, you have Boom, so check it out. If you used it, and I hope maybe this taught you a little bit more, gave you a little bit more insight as to how to get the most out of it. So thank you very much for stopping by, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care.